want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have. I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
Rachel Zegler thought a bold statement could silence her critics, but what she posted only added fuel to the fire. In a now viral video filmed from what looked like her bedroom, the Snow White actress stared directly into the camera with a mixture of frustration and defiance. She insisted that despite the relentless online hate, her supporters still showed up for her work. Her voice wavered between teary-eyed vulnerability and a subtle, passive-aggressive edge as she defended her performance. She took aim at the negativity that had followed the project since its announcement, attempting to wrest control of her narrative.
When the winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them, that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
But the internet had other plans. Almost instantly, clips from the video exploded across social media. TikTokers stitched the video into everything from disbelief to parody, while X, formerly Twitter, spiraled into chaos.
Excuse me, your curtain. Please allow me to help.
Help? From you?
I didn't mean to offend. I just thought you should know that
That I should know what? That some privileged white guy thinks his opinion matters? Get over your entitlement. I'm not some damsel in distress waiting for you to ride in on your high.
Instead of a comeback, Rachel had handed her critics a treasure trove of material. The hashtags said it all. #CashSnowFlop, a hashtag meant to defend the film, quickly became a symbol of tone deafness. It felt self-centered and disconnected from the reality of how the film was being received. To no one's surprise, people had been waiting for this moment, with memes and old interview clips mocking her previous dismissals of the original Snow White.
Snow White, budget $250 million, box office $43 million. Oh, but it's only been 2 days, give it a chance. No, I'm not gonna give it a chance. I'm not even talking about that number. Because like all the flops are unsurprising at this point. Something is going on behind the scenes with almost every major animation, video game, and movie studio that they're doing this intentionally or something. I don't f***ing know. I'm not even gonna talk about this. People are like, oh wow, Snow White flopped. Who is surprised? You cast arguably the least genuine, most out of touch, and disliked person in our industry, and our industry is Hollywood. And the bad guy is Gal Gadot.
What was meant to be a fairy tale redemption had turned into a digital witch trial, and Rachel was cast as the villain. Her earlier comments about the 1937 classic, calling it weird and creepy while mocking its romantic themes, had aged poorly. And the backlash wasn't just noise, it had serious consequences.
All right, guys, I watched Snow White, so you don't have to. Let's get into it. Now, first things first, Snow White gets her name not from the fairness of her skin, as we obviously know. Rachel Zegler would be a miscast in that sense. Instead, she gets her name from surviving a snowstorm. Her father and mother are king and queen to a utopian communist society. I'm not joking, guys. Everybody shares and is mindful of what each person is getting, and we spread our resources evenly, which is where this idea of fairness, as Snow White is the fairest of them all, is really presented in the
Snow White opened to a jaw-dropping $45 million at the domestic box office. For a Disney live-action remake, especially one built on the legacy of the company's first animated film, those numbers were catastrophic. To put it in perspective, The Little Mermaid, despite its own controversies, opened to $95 million. Analysts were floored. Some called it Disney's biggest misstep in years.
Narcissist. Original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Okay.
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. And then it became like, I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part. That people will assume is a love story just because like we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
I say, if I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
And we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
not gonna be saved by the prince.
She's not gonna be saved by the prince, and she's not gonna be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Others didn't mince words. It was a flop. Theater chains responded quickly, shifting Snow White off their biggest screens in favor of higher-grossing films. Some theaters pulled it entirely within its second week. For Disney, this was uncharted territory, and for Rachel, it marked the unraveling of her public image.
A big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
Then came the Oscars. Instead of the glamorous redemption moment she might have hoped for, the red carpet felt charged with tension. Rachel and co-star Gal Gadot barely interacted. The photos spoke volumes. No smiles, no warmth. Online observers picked up on the icy dynamic, with body language experts pointing out the obvious strain.
Welcome, Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot.
Visual effects push the boundaries of what we see on screen.
Their work makes the impossible seem possible.
With breathtaking ambition, they create magic that wraps its arms around our wildest imaginations.
Here are the nominees for Best Visual Effects.
Later, insiders confirmed what had already been obvious. Gal, while still contractually obligated to promote the film, had distanced herself from Rachel and the project. Meanwhile, Gal's career seemed untouched, booking roles, securing brand deals, and attending industry events without issue. Rachel, on the other hand, found herself increasingly isolated. While a few diehard fans rallied around her, she was drowning in a sea of criticism. Her Oscars appearance didn't salvage her. It cemented her role as the face of Snow White's failure. All the goodwill she earned from West Side Story evaporated. What was supposed to be a fresh, modern take on a classic Disney tale ended up looking like a disrespectful and tone-deaf reinvention. Rachel's confidence, which initially seemed empowering, now read as arrogance. And rather than taking control of her narrative, she had inadvertently turned herself into the story's villain. Her big break had become a career-altering disaster. The viral video meltdown had been the spark, but the fire had been building for months. As soon as the box office numbers crashed, old interviews resurfaced. Rachel's notorious take on the original Snow White, where she dismissed the 1937 classic as weird and outdated, was everywhere. She'd boldly declared that her version wouldn't be about a prince, wouldn't feature true love, and certainly wouldn't have a damsel waiting around for rescue. But instead of being hailed as a feminist reimagining, she was criticized for trashing a beloved film. The backlash was widespread. Longtime Disney fans, the ones who buy the merchandise, attend the parks, and make opening weekends a tradition, felt personally insulted. Parents said they'd avoid a movie where the lead actress disrespected the original. Grandparents shared TikToks about how Snow White had shaped their childhood, explaining why they wouldn't support a remake that seemed to have no appreciation for the film they loved. Even casual viewers jumped on the bandwagon, criticizing her tone, attitude, and perceived arrogance throughout the press tour. Unlike other stars who weather the storm with grace or rally industry allies, Rachel found herself alone. There were no public statements of support from her co-stars, no directors stepping in to defend her, no actresses sharing solidarity. The silence spoke volumes. Hollywood, it seemed, was already stepping back. Behind the scenes, the consequences were even more severe. Reports started emerging that Rachel's future projects were being reconsidered. Insiders mentioned that the momentum for roles she'd once been in talks for had slowed significantly. Marketing teams began questioning whether she was still a viable star, wondering if audiences would ever associate her with success again or if the controversy had permanently tarnished her brand. It's a brutal truth in Hollywood. Perception is everything. And for Rachel Zegler, once hailed as the next big thing after her breakout in West Side Story, her rise has taken a stunning nosedive. The accolades, the Golden Globe win, the praise from Spielberg, none of it could shield her from the fallout of Snow White. Her attempt to modernize a Disney classic was seen as disrespectful, her confidence as arrogance, and her failure to recover from the backlash has become a cautionary tale. In an age when audiences are quick to vote with their wallets, Rachel's controversy didn't just hurt Snow White, it symbolized a larger problem in the entertainment industry. For many, she's no longer a rising star, but a symbol of the dangers of unchecked celebrity ego. Her team is reportedly scrambling to reframe the narrative, attempting to salvage her image through soft press and redemption stories. But with each new defiant move she makes, the path back to relevance grows narrower. If there's one thing Hollywood knows, it's that you can bounce back from a mistake, but only if you have the humility to own it. And so far, Rachel hasn't shown that. Instead, she's dug in, alienating the very audiences she once hoped to inspire. Once positioned as Disney's next big thing, Rachel Zegler may now be remembered as one of the most spectacular flops in recent memory, not for one bad film, but for the choices she made when the spotlight was brightest.